Hi, welcome to the April Circulation SIG Special Interest Group meeting. And we're going to start off by talking about circulation rules, how we set them up, things we wish they could do better, bugs, if anyone knows about them, would probably be helpful as well. So does anyone have any questions or special lessons that you've learned with circulation rules to make it easier for the rest of us?
I have questions and I have one. So an FYI that Bywater now has a tool that will batch import Circ rules for you. You can't do it yourself. They have to do it for you. But we had 600 and something rules, and I wasn't really thrilled with sitting around and doing 600 rules. So they put together an importer and just whoosh imported them all for me. So I just created a spreadsheet with the same fields and put the values in, and then they took that and imported it. Doesn't help people who are already on Koha, but if you're like us, you're in the process of getting ready for Koha, it's extremely useful. But I also do have a question about the circulation rules. I have made an assumption, and it may be a very dangerous one. Okay, if I have one library that has a special rule for an item type, and so I put under that library Circ rule page, I put that rule, can I then go back to the all libraries page and say, here's a different thing I want you to do for all the other libraries in the consortium?
Technically, that should work as long as you don't have an all rule set at the branch level, which is how I do everything, because I would have billions of rules if I don't put an all rule at each branch level.
When you say all rule, what do you mean? Like all profiles, all item types?
Right, all patrons, all item types. So we have like a default all rule set for each branch, and that's what the bulk of their checkouts go under. And then we set the deviations by item type, patron type above that. So I can't use the all libraries rule because it never actually hits that. It gets stopped at the all rule at the branch level.
Okay.
Are you going tomorrow, Michelle?
Does that make sense?
My brain's just barely got a hold of it. I probably have to go in and okay, so if it's a branch level all rule, then it won't pop back up to the default page to get a rule there.
Yeah, let me show you my rules.
Thank you.
So there's a little visual with it. This is 2 today. All right. Okay. Do you see my admin page?
Yeah.
Here? Okay. So, um, my Circ find rules, and let me just pick a random library. This one's gonna have lots of rules. But so you see, like at the branch level, I'm at Chanute Public. I've got an all rule, and that's basically gonna block any rules beyond it. So the trickle down goes like from most specific to least specific, and the branch level is more specific than the overall overarching rules that are here for all libraries.
Oh my
So
goodness.
no matter what I set on this page, if you're there at Chanute, it's always gonna hit that that all rule.
But we have like, I don't know, 80 item types or something.
Right. So that's why, yeah, that's why I have this development cooking that I want, that will put a level at the top where you can set global rules that supersede branch level rules. But at this point, you can't do that. It has to trickle down. You have to poke a hole in all the rules to get to an all library, all branches rule.
So let me throw out an example and see what you think is the best approach to it. So I have I have an item type of school book, which I have all rules at my schools that catch that school book. But I want to be able to say that at all other libraries in the system that are not schools, school books should have a completely different circulation period. So does that
So
mean
it's tough. I mean, if you had an all school book rule, but not an all rule,
but I would have to have that for every one of the schools, right? An
right.
all school book.
Well, the
And
problem is actually like, so if this was a school, and you had an all rule, then that works fine. But if this wasn't a school, for example, and I have an all rule, it's gonna hit that, the school book will hit this all instead of getting to the rule on this top page. Like if you do an all school book rule here, it's never going to get to that rule because it's going to hit that all rule at the branch specificity. So you'd have to not have an all rule at the branch level to be able to hit that all specific item type at the global level.
okay, thank you. That's very sad, but thank you.
I know.
There's a couple of mentions in the chat. A lot of this depends on how you have your circulation rules defined globally, whether they follow the rules at the library where you're checking the items out, or whether you're following the rules at the library that owns the item.
We're using checkout library.
Yeah, then you got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah, that's how we're set up as well.
And that page is so slow to load.
It is.
Well,
yeah.
One of the things that I would try and do is figure out which rules all the libraries have in common. If you can find, or if you can find like a group of libraries where you, like maybe you have 3 or 4 libraries that have the same basic rules. You can set up those basic rules as a starting point and then copy a whole set of that set of rules from one library to another, and then go in and get down to the more specific things.
But you can't. So by copy, you mean hand create?
No. There is a clone the rules from this library to another library option.
Well, but that clones all of the rules, and typically,
yes.
we have no libraries in which the rules match.
Well, you'll probably find some libraries where a bunch of the rules match.
Okay, and then I can delete out the other ones.
That's where you start off. Is you start off with like you get a set of rules that matches like 5 or 6 libraries, and where they have some general things that match, and then you copy all of those, and then you go in, and after those things that do match are copied, then you go in and then you start adding the things that don't match.
Okay.
That is one area where Koha is a lot easier. It's a lot easier for the libraries if your rules say that the circulation rules follow the library that owns the item. That can speed things up a lot, but it's confusing as hell for the patrons, in my experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
Or if you can be like Christopher at the CIN consortium in Idaho, they've just agreed they all have the same rules. They managed to come to that agreement some time ago, and it simplifies a lot of things.
Yeah, when pigs can fly.
Lucky bastard.
I put that bug that I mentioned in the chat about override. So the one where like you could set a global rule at the top instead of the bottom.
Okay.
And I do have a development request out to Bywater, but they haven't gotten back to me yet on pricing and all that.
Another thing I would like to see is instead of a drop down where you pick each individual patron category or each individual item type, it would be nice to have a drop down with checkboxes where you could say this rule applies to, instead of selecting individual item types, you could check, this rule applies to this and this and this and this, and that just be one rule. That would be a huge time saver too.
Yes, Symphony has that, so I'm going to be missing that feature.
Yeah.
Is there a bug?
For a drop select like that, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
I like your vision. I'm wanting this. I think we can have a lot of people go, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm wanting, but I think it would require that drop down that you're talking about, George. I have where one library has, for one item type, 3 patron categories need the same rule.
Yeah.
But for another item type, it's got to have, like, they need individual. I have to have the 3 patron categories. But I would like to not have to have 3 separate circulation rules that are the same for that patron category.
Yes, that would be nice.
So that doesn't exist.
No, but
You
that
have
would be a great development. Yeah.
Okay. So who is good at writing these developments to put in the bug? And you can refer them back to this meeting. We talked about it. Everyone liked it.
My understanding is that Brendan at Clams recently did a development that's similar for something else. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
So maybe he should be here. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The thing he worked on had something to do with reports, I believe.
One's not what you're talking about, but I just saw that an ancient bug about cloning Circ Rules to a list of patron categories. So that would at least save you time in creating those rules.
Still valid in 1605.
All right. Does anyone have another question or thing we can discuss?
Is there a bug out there to make it so that it's easier to see when rules conflict at different levels? Because that's what I like. We have rules set, and then we have ones for consortiums or other libraries, and it's really hard to tell if or even within our own library by patron category, are they messing with each other? And all the ones below that big table, sometimes it's hard to understand how they all relate.
So
Yeah,
I know that Andrew talked to Nick about Circ Rules for a development committee, and Nick had mentioned that they're already working on some sort of tool for that. But I don't know. I know there's several bugs, and I interrupted Chanel. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. All I was going to say was that that's another thing that Symphony has that is really useful, because many times I would have put in a rule that totally didn't work, but I was able to test it and verify. Or if someone came to me and said this isn't working, I could put in the values and say, oh, of course, because it's picking this other line in the Circ map.
And there's a bug on Circ Fine Rules test tool that I put in chat that looks like somebody worked on, but it hasn't had real movement since 2020. So I don't know. I do know that it came up in the dev committee for some reason, and Nick did say that Bywater was working on something.
That would be great.
So I'm
I'm
still
just-
learning how to use Bugzilla. Would it be helpful if like all of us went there and copied on the bug or wrote something on the bug that want it? For all of us new
It
people?
never hurts.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was about to say. I don't know how helpful it is sometimes, but it doesn't hurt.
Okay. So everyone who wants this, go to Bugzilla. Add your name to the list. Because that would be that would have saved me some time investigating why isn't this working. Okay. Anything else? We're gonna have a really short meeting if no one else has any more questions or things to talk about. Okay. Then I'm gonna stop the recording.